Welcome to the Spike Camp podcast. Spike Camp is a free online community for hunters that support conservation. It's a great place to share stories and your experience with other hunters. As a member of Spike Camp, you get access to all of our hunting live streams, discussion channels, contests, hunter resources, and events that we host. Membership to Spike Camp is free. Our only ask is that you are a member of a hunting or conservation group before you register. Head over to spikecamp.com to join us. This episode of the Spike Camp podcast is brought to you in part by Spartan Precision Equipment. Spartan Precision produces rifle and optic support systems that weigh less and do more. Born from backcountry hunting, their lightweight bipods and tripods aim to help you master your marksmanship. Visit javelinbipod.com to see their available products and learn more.
All right, everybody, welcome to night 3 of our sheep camp series. I hope everybody's enjoying it so far. Our guests have been absolutely amazing, and the shows have been jam-packed with gold. I reached out to tonight's guest, probably about a month ago now, and it was a pretty easy conversation. I just said, "Hey, Joe, would you be interested in coming back to jump on Spike Camp and talk about the Wild Sheep Society and sheep hunting?" And I barely got send hit, and it was an instant yes from Joe. So, Joe, thank you, buddy. Welcome back to the show.
Chuck, my pleasure. Thanks for having me back, and always enjoy the conversation. So I really appreciate you having me on here. You must have been running pretty low on your hit list if you dropped down to my name, but I'm glad you did.
You're pretty high on the Rolodex, Joe, but your schedule is so crazy. You know, everybody knows who you are. You got a good, massive following now, and the show's done really well. We had you on very early in our Spike Camp life. We had you on, I think it was episode number 11 back in October of 23. And October 23 was an absolute stunning year for you for hunting. Like the planets aligned, right? Like, holy shit. Yeah. The freezers got full, right?
I've been a fortunate man over the past few years, I have to say. I keep waiting for everything to fall out of place, but so far things keep falling into place, so I'm gonna ride that high as long as I can for sure. And speaking of things falling into place, so you guys have done a phenomenal job at continuing to build Spike Camp and make it a great place for like-minded individuals to gather, where we're not getting crushed and banned and chased out everywhere with flaming pitchforks. So you've been doing a lot of hard work, and I know it hasn't always been easy, so huge kudos to you for keeping this going and making it grow and build. Pretty excited to be back and see how much you guys have been up to.
Well, thanks, Joe. It's and you and I talk every once in a while. I call you and kind of bounce ideas and look for advice and stuff. And you've been super supportive, and we really appreciate it, because I know you don't have a lot of time, and you got your own plate to keep try to keep busy, and you got a lot of balls in the air and a busy life. And yeah, it's just amazing. Everybody follows you that I know, and they say the same thing. It's like, how's this guy find the time? Like, it's just unbelievable. But thank you for the comments. We really appreciate that. I saw on your feed there a couple days ago, and today you had the family out for some dinosaur fishing. How was that?
Just an amazing trip. You talk about it's challenging sometimes to make things fall into place and juggling the load, but it's just, you got to make it happen. So I saw an opportunity. I've been chatting with Nick up at River Monsters in Lillooet. He had a bit of an opening in his schedule. It wasn't actually an opening, so it was during the evening, so I work remotely, so I could work during the day. Got the family up there, and then we boogied out for some evenings on the water. And I tell you what, just phenomenal time out there. It's always a good time on the water with Nick, but Walker is old enough. Wyatt is obviously 6 months, not going to remember too much of it. But Walker's face, I think his cheeks are still hurting from smiling so much, and he kind of hasn't calmed down yet. I feel bad because it's getting close to bedtime, and he's still on cloud 9 running around talking about it, and the missus gets to juggle Wyatt and Walker at the same time while we're chatting. But I'm sure she'll forgive me one day.
Oh, yes. No, she understands it. I mean, yeah, I saw some of the clips you had of Walker like kissing the fish and doing what Dad does. I mean, it's just so cool. It's just like Boom, man. I love it. I do want to say this though. I have to applaud you, and I know many people would agree with this. You and Kristen are so open and sharing with your family, with like everybody. Like you mentioned to me today, you said to me today when we had a chat earlier, you're like, hey, everything I do is out there. So, it's fair game. Like we can talk about anything because everybody knows anyway. But, not only in the hunting space and in the Joe Eppele brand, if you want to call it that, that's out there, but your family's out there. Like you've got your kids out there and you guys make you're proud to show what you have going on. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a, Kristen and I had some discussions and some decisions to make about, I mean, obviously you want to respect your children's privacy and you don't want to put them in the limelight too much, but at the same time, a big part of what I really believe in is in the importance of raising children and creating that connectivity. So if it's something that's that important to us, we kind of made the decision that we wanted to show people what we're up to with our kids, and try and present it in a tasteful way and just make sure everybody sees. A lot of people think automatically if you're out hunting this much and you're balancing the work and the hunting that you can't find time to get your kids out there, or it's one or the other. So we really did want to show people that it's possible to do it. It's challenging. It's not always easy. I tell you what, we post the highlights on the Instagram. There's a lot of kicking and screaming at times, cranky kids driving back through the Duffy Lake Pass.
Yeah,
but it's all worth it because like the kids remember the highs. The kids remember all those positive moments, the great times. And that for us is what it's all about. I moved away from Squamish for a long time, and I always knew I wanted to come back here to raise my kids in the mountains. That was a big part of Kristen and I's goal, and kind of planting our roots here. And then that's what we're doing now. And hopefully our goal by sharing it is that we're inspiring some other folks to get out there and do it. Kind of spread the word and get more folks out there doing it. Just like, I mean, with what we're doing with Wild Sheep, trying to introduce the youth membership programs and doing some of that as well is just kind of, we call ourselves hunter conservationists, and the reason we're conservationists is because we're focusing on making sure everything's still here for the next generation. So why not get them involved as soon as possible?
Yeah, exactly. And what a great segue into the Wild Sheep Society and the work that you do there. So I'm going to let you give us an update, share with everybody here what you got going on and what the society's got going on, if you would.
Yeah, that's a very vague kind of handoff. The society has a lot going on. I believe Matt touched on a lot of the projects and different things going on Monday. I'm the chair for the youth committee. So I keep an eye on the youth committee. We've really been trying to launch and push our half curl membership, which is a kind of a unique opportunity for youth all the way up to it's their 18th birthday, where they can pay basically 50% of a lifetime membership fee, and they get a lot of exclusive bonus opportunities. Last year, we drew a hunt winner for a doe hunt, fully guided doe hunt. Mom and dad got to tag along for that as well. A lot of unique prizes. But we're really trying to drive that youth initiative. We're creating various opportunities across the province this year, various archery camps, some outdoor activities. It's going to be a continually growing program. But since launching, I believe we're now, based on my last conversation with Matt, we're over 26 half curl members, which is really exciting because we're creating and instilling that focus and that drive on conservation at a young age, and just hoping that that'll continue to spread and grow and make it a warm, inviting environment for that. So yeah, the half curl membership, the youth program, we've got a great team, a great committee there that's really trying to come up with good ideas and ways to get the youth continually getting involved in everything we're up to.
Yeah, I think it's great. Do you guys have any plans for like youth hunter camps as it starts to grow and build, like skills camps and things like that? Is that some of the ideas there?
Yeah, so we're going to focus on getting some resources together. I mean, obviously focusing first and foremost around sheep education, some visits to some of the pens, some horn aging education, make it kind of start it early so it becomes ingrained at a very young age, so it's almost second nature. But then we're also looking at doing some just general outdoor education programs. Right now, the big focus this year has been finding various opportunities across the province, not just focusing on one big opportunity in one location, but various opportunities across the province where we can create an easier access for our youth to attend. So there's various archery events that have been going on where we've been funding a certain number of attendees or providing certain resources to people that are attending. And we're just going to continually kind of grow those relationships. And then hopefully in the next year or so, we'd like to actually host some, big events, some overnight hikes, things like that. The challenge is obviously once you get youth involved, there's just a few extra hoops you have to jump through to make sure you're doing it all properly. It's not just inviting a bunch of adults out who are in control of themselves. When you open the door to youth, you just have to jump through a few more hoops and make sure all your ducks are in a row before you launch anything. But we're definitely looking at continually expanding the program and creating a lot more opportunity for the youth in the province to get out and grow that appreciation and love for the outdoors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a great program. I was very happy to see the announcement for that when it came out, and to see those kids coming up to get those awards in Penticton. I mean, wow, you just think about it, right? If you're whatever 8, 10, 12 years old and you're getting called up to the front to accept an award in front of a room full of sheep hunters and conservationists, it's fun. It's amazing. We're lucky. One of the things we've tried to encourage, we're trying to be inclusive on Spike Camp for anyone that wants to jump on and learn or share knowledge. And we have created a youth space for the youth hunters to share their stories and stuff. And I think that's pretty unique because I don't see that. I don't like referring to Spike Camp as a forum because we are kind of a lot more than just a place to, type and read. We're a lot more than that, we like to think. But we have had some amazing young hunters join up on Spike Camp and tell some stories, and they're very interactive. They love to talk about their experiences. They love to ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
and the members have just been amazing with sharing knowledge with them and interacting with them. And I think it's pretty cool. We're extremely proud of that, and we want to try and do more of it. So if there's anything we can do to help you guys promote, push, engage those kids, then by all means, just let me know.
Chuck, I'm sure we'll have some alignment opportunities because that's a big part of what we're trying to do as well, is just create a safe place for youth to kind of grow that passion and share their stories, like you said. We all know if you post them on some of those other platforms, it doesn't always go as well out of the gate. So, creating a bit of a community that's supportive and making people kind of foster that passion and focusing on the positive side of things is always a big one for us.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, like I said, we're there. Anything you guys need, you just let us know. One of the things I wanted to ask you, and I've been involved with nonprofits before, and I've served as a board member and a volunteer in various groups over the years. And, usually every board member gets hung with they have some sort of title or responsibility or committee that they're a chair of. And people will automatically say, oh, well, there's Joe, he's the guy in charge of youth, or there's Matt, he's the guy in charge of membership. But what people don't see more often than not and don't realize is that's just one thing. You have to take something like that on as a board member. It's pretty much mandatory in any board, but it's all the work that you do behind the scenes that you don't see and you don't hear about, and all the subcommittees and all the meetings and all the Zoom calls. What other things are you involved in with Wild Sheep?
There's a lot on the go. I don't need to sit here and list everything. What I do want to say is a huge kudos to everybody else on the board and all the other members. I will say I've been on the board for about a year and a half now. And sitting here, I honestly feel like I must be one of the most underachieving individuals on that board. I've never seen a group of more hardworking and selfless individuals that just put countless hours in. I thought I had a good understanding, I should say, before I joined the board. The year before I joined, I kind of came up with the idea for the half curl membership, and I contacted Kyle and I started pitching it to him, and it was like, why don't you guys just take this and run with it? It's so easy. Like, I understand the blueprint. Just take it. It doesn't take that much time. And Kyle kind of explained me some of the restrictions and bandwidth issues they had. And in my mind, it's just from the outside looking in, I couldn't grasp how it was possible that they had so much going on they couldn't launch such an important initiative. And then Kyle invited me on a few meetings, and I started getting a grasp of what was going on the inside and gaining an appreciation for it. And then part of my running, I guess, for board was that I really, mentioned that if I joined the board, that I really wanted to launch this youth program. And since joining, I just want to say, like, I had an appreciation. I felt really good. I put a lot of money to my membership and to the committee, and I felt good about it because it's a group that you see the money actually comes in, flows out, boots on the ground projects, makes stuff happen. I felt good about it before I joined, and after joining now, I'm absolutely blown away by how far off I was with how hard this group actually works, how many hours these guys are actually putting in, day out, and how much of that money, like, not a dime goes to waste, not a dime goes unaccounted for. Everything is put right onto the ground. Yes, my biggest focus is with the youth. I'm also involved in a few other committees, but I would not give myself a badge saying I'm a heavy enough lifter with any of the other groups to deserve that kind of accolade. So I'll just say I'm happy to be on the board. I'm very fortunate to work with such a group of passionate individuals, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do the work I do with the youth committee. But I mean, you spoke with Matt on Monday. Matt is just a hardworking cat and a very respectable individual. And all I'll say to everybody on this call and anybody that listens after this call is that board deserves a lot of respect and a pat on the back. Anytime you see him, if you see him next year in Penticton, buy him a drink. They earned it. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something the bigger the association or the society grows, the tendency for people to forget about that kind of grows with it, right? It just becomes a machine, right? And then when you go to Penticton and you look at the success of the Penticton show for the last 2 years and what goes into that show, now it's not just a weekend meeting. This is one of the, if not the biggest hunting expositions we have in Western Canada, in my opinion. It's the best one. I love it. It's just grown, went from a hallway in the hotel in Kamloops, like for the trade show, to booking out a hall for 2 years in a row. Like, it's unbelievable. And the amount of work that goes into that too, just that. Incredible.
Hannah, Kyle, the rest of Greg, the rest of the committee, everybody, like, they started planning for next year already before that show was even done. And everybody else is there having a good time, and most of the board is walking around, keeping an eye on what's going on, making sure everything's flowing properly and everybody there can have a good time. Once again, just they're a great team. They're working hard, and if you liked the way Penticton went last year, just wait for this year. And the plans that are you don't want to leak out too much, but the plans that are growing and that are in place for growth and more exciting attendees, more exciting booths, vendors, all of the above. It's like we're still, like, we're here, and it's the leaps and bounds that are coming in the future years. It's really exciting.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome. All right. Well, we're here to talk sheep hunting.
Yes.
So the first topic I want to talk about, I did have a brief chat with you earlier today, kind of let you know where I was headed with some of our discussion. And I'm going to start off with this one because I think it's super important, and it's worthwhile having the discussion. I was out at the Horn Aging Seminar in Abbotsford on Tuesday, and Bill Jex was the presenter, as he so often does, and he did an amazing job. And Bill always finds a way to present his, the same message in different ways, and he always adds new and fresh tips and things to look for. And I was sitting beside a gentleman, Clay. He's on the chat tonight. Clay's been on a lot of successful sheep hunts, and his comment to me was, like, several times, he's like, he was writing notes in his notebook. This is a guy, and I'm not going to list his age, but he's older than me, and I'm freaking old. And he's been on a lot of sheep hunts of all kinds. And he was taking notes. I was taking notes. People in the room were taking notes. And, that in itself is just a resource that needs to be delivered so often and so much. And I think that is a big credit. Those seminars are deserving of a big thank you for keeping, sheep harvested in a sensible manner. They sure help. And one of the things that Bill points out every seminar is he starts to remind everybody at some point about the different ways to determine legality on sheep, and we talk about, the curl breaking the nose and or visible annuli counts exceeding 8. And then he also always makes mention, he always frames it like this. He says, if you see a ram and he breaks the nose and he is legal and it's your first ram, age may or may not and shouldn't, I wouldn't say it shouldn't be an issue, but it doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't shoot that ram, because it is perfectly legal. There's a reason why the laws state you can shoot that ram. And a lot of people will do that. I probably will. I haven't shot one yet. But that ram, a lot of rams are taken that are maybe just 8 or even 7 and have full curl break the nose. And then he goes on to point out, in theory, the mindset we should have as sheep hunters is once you have that first ram, then if you're going to pursue a second ram or, try to hunt for a bigger and better ram, make sure it is older. Try to look for that older, more, seasoned ram out on the mountain. And I know you have been lucky enough and worked hard enough to harvest 2 beautiful stone sheep. And I'd like to hear your position on it. I'm cheating a little because I already know your position, but I would like our audience to hear how Joe thinks about that.
My position is right behind me, so
yeah.
It's no secret. Most people, I'm sure there's people on this chat, and I bet you there's people in this room right now that were upset with me when I harvested my first ram. I did take a young ram, my first ram. I'll be honest, it wasn't the age I expected when I pulled the trigger. I had been in an area where we had gone up. We were on the 7th day of our 8th. We had packed 8 days worth of food. I'd chased up into an area, myself and a videographer. The videographer had only ever been on whitetail hunts, so he hadn't filmed anything away from his pickup truck. So it was basically, not solo, but I didn't have a ton of insight from other individuals. And a lot of the rams we were seeing, I was convinced were 7 to 8 years old. I had been aging them, and most of them were at kind of like way back, like 3/4 curl. Before I went into the area, I'd spoken to some individuals that had hunted the spot, and they said the rams didn't tend to reach full curl as much. You're probably going to shoot on age, whatever it may be. And from what I had been seeing to that point, it had been mostly true. A lot of the rams were far back. There's one that I'm still looking back, was likely over 8. The footage is a little shaky, but he was way back, like below the jaw almost. And then that morning I snuck in on a band of rams, and I was trying to age one ram, and kind of the lead ram had his head down. He was having a nap. This ram right here. When he popped his head up, I was close. I was in shooting position. I had my spotter up. And as soon as he popped his head up, I could look through the spotter, darn near naked eye from where I was, and I saw that he was a good 1.5 to 2 inches past his nose. I made like a split-second decision. I did not need to rush my decision in that point in time. I rushed my decision because it was so long and late into the hunt. Grabbed my gun, and I threw lead right away before I even aged the ram. I just saw he was past the nose. When I walked up on him, it was a humbling experience, realizing that just because all the other rams in the area were so far back and mature, like older rams, doesn't mean you can't get a tight corkscrew ram in the same spot. And he's 6-year-old ram. I guess some people say 6.5, but 6-year-old ram. So young ram, but definitely fully legal, well past the nose. And right away in that moment, it was, I was excited. I'd taken my first ram. It was not an easy hunt by any means, and I still had a lot of work to do to get that ram off the mountain. But I knew right away I was never going to shoot another ram in a situation like that unless I had an opportunity to, make sure it was a much more mature ram. Like I kind of went out I had opportunities. I've seen other rams since. And then my last ram, like you mentioned, much more mature ram. He was legal on age and curl. So I had a lot of time. I had seen him from a distance. I knew he was legal on curl, and I actually camped out in a little exposed divot in the ground for over I think it was 4.5 hours with him at 430 yards bedded. And before I could get a good clean shot, he actually jumped up out of his bed. A younger ram bed down too close to him. He jumped up. I had 5.6 seconds because I was filming it through my spotter. He got up, chased the ram off, came back. I was able to freeze frame, count annuli. I knew he was legal on curl and age. And that's when I decided to take that ram. But yeah, I have nothing against people that shoot younger rams as long as they're full curl. I would far rather people shoot a full curl ram that is a bit younger than shoot a 7-year-old ram that doesn't hit the nose. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
that's the thing about it. I knew going up there, I wanted to make sure 100% my first ram had to be a legal ram. Um, at the time, I've been hunting sheep for a while. I thought I was an experienced sheep hunter. Now that I've been hunting this for sheep for longer, I can tell you today I'm still not an experienced sheep hunter. I think we're always looking to get better and learn more. But yeah, I mean, my first ram, young ram, was a legal ram through and through. But from that, I just always want to get better, improve. And now that my second ram to me, it was a phenomenal ram.
Oh yeah, it was.
I'm sure there's people on this call right now that have taken bigger and better rams than that one, but I think it would take something pretty special for me to want to even take another stone at this point. I'll go up with friends and work on getting them rams, but I'm going to start focusing on some other sheep species for a bit, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? Thank you for being so open and honest about that. And
Mhm.
and I know from the moment you posted that initial ram, the first one, I mean, you were very clear about that right away. You said, look, you were very open and honest about it. And I think the sheep hunting community and everybody that knows you appreciates that. And again, that was a message that Bill was putting forward to the group, and he does at his seminars, is it's okay, it's fine. I mean, it's legal. If it was something dramatically wrong with that, then we should probably have the law changed, but we don't. I mean, it's a legal ram, and people should really think about their decisions. And how exciting is it to take your first ram, right? Like, I mean, you were over the moon, right? It's unbelievable. It's a
Mhm.
great feeling. And then going forward, luckily I've been able to interview all these, sheep hunters, new sheep hunters, really experienced sheep hunters, guides, outfitters, everybody. And the passion gets stronger the more hunts you go on, whether you're the harvester or just tagging along, or if you even manage to take one at all as a group. The passion
Mhm.
is there, and then the pursuit of big mature rams is there. And there's a healthy population of them out there if you look hard enough, right? They're out there for sure. I was going to ask, how many sheep hunts were you on prior to your harvest? Like, was it the 7 years worth of hunts for you, like a lot of people?
Maybe not 7. For stones, it was my second like fully focused stone sheep hunt. To be
Okay.
honest, I'd done one other big 14-day push with a buddy, kind of full tilt backcountry, right off the highway hiking, and then I had done quite a few sheep hunts along the Fraser River though. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
but yeah, I put some time in for sure. But again, you just continually learn with it.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience when it played out. I was I was on the 7th day. I had 8 days worth of supplies. We were starting to ration and picking berries and figuring, because I wasn't coming off that mountain until I got a ram.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that band showed up that morning. So
Well, congratulations on both of them. I've seen them both, and yeah, I mean, great accomplishments, and kudos to you. So
thanks, I appreciate
the
it.
the theme of the show was getting it done. And when I was figuring out who am I going to ask to be on the show, and I was like, I love a few things about the way you hunt. One is you grind it, you get out there and you get after it and you bust your ass, and that's what's needed. But you also like to share your knowledge especially on your Instagram feed.
Mhm.
The Q&As are a big thing, and you're very open about it, and you're honest with your questions. And I want to kind of dig into, let's pick apart the Q&A side of things for a little while. So I've got a list of questions, and
Oh
I want
boy.
to kind of go through. Yeah, no, this should come natural, man, because you do it every day. So
We'll do, yeah.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, first and foremost, the knowledge only comes from making mistakes. And when I share the quote unquote knowledge, all I'm trying to do is help others avoid the same mistakes I made along the way, because that's how I've learned, was through a lot of trial and error. So when people ask me questions, I'm not sitting there saying that I'm a pro by any means. I'm just trying to help others avoid the same mistakes and learning the hard way that I did. So hopefully it helps some others, and to anybody on this call or at any point in time, I'm always open to learning from others as well, because there's a ton of people that have way more experience than me in the backcountry, and I just want to get better year after year. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
let's jump into this and let's hear some of these questions. I'm excited.
perfect. Well, let's start from the very start of the process. I guess we've kind of answered this question, but apart from the sheep themselves, what did you learn from your first successful sheep hunt that you applied to the second one? And forget about aging sheep. Anything else? What was there? Was there a lesson you came off the mountain going, gonna do something different next year? Is there anything in particular?
Yeah, there was a few things I learned. One thing was to be a little more patient. My first sheep hunt, we spent 14 days in the backcountry, hiking off the highway, and it was well over 30 kilometers as a crow flies. And we started hiking in, and my buddy Kyle and I had this specific range in mind that we wanted to get to. So we killed ourselves, absolutely killed ourselves for however long it took for us to get into there. And this is the dumbest thing I can possibly think about, but we had it in our mind that this is where the big rams are going to hang out. We were seeing sheep on our way in, and we were not stopping and glassing them properly. We were just pushing in because we wanted to get to this spot because this is where it was going to happen. And then we got back in there. There were sheep where we were headed. We got close. We found some rams, nothing that was legal. But we blew past so much good country. You know, over the years, I've just learned the importance of playing it a little slower. When you see sheep, like, just take time, glass, don't rush the hunt your way in, hunt your way out, don't kill yourself. That was a big lesson I learned from the first hunt to the second hunt that ultimately made the next sheep hunt far easier as well, and everything's been a lot smoother after that. But learning to be a patient. But I guess that's the lesson everybody learns with age, right? It's kind of slowing things down.
Yeah, I think that, you know, that's a lesson that they should learn. I think I've been guilty of it too, but, you know, I always hunt with someone younger than me, usually my son, and I'm usually slowing down. And it's not because I see sheep, it's because I'm gassed and I got to take a break. So I'll pull my binos up. The old trick is like, I got to glass this for a minute, Blake, you know, glass it through the heartbeat.
We've
right?
all done that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, that's good stuff. Let's start with planning. Planning a sheep hunt. So what do you suggest or recommend, or what do you do when you're trying to pick a location? Like, where do you start? There's lots of ways.
Yeah, that's it. Well, yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm pretty fortunate. I would say I don't want to say I have an advantage because I'm sure a lot of people have a vast network. But again, one of the things about being a member of Wild Sheep Society is, and being an active participant and getting involved in some of these events, is you form bonds with some other individuals that have been out there. Sometimes you kind of get a bit of a nod in a certain direction, and then you kind of just start picking maps, or picking spots on that map or in that direction. But another thing I say is just getting time out there, pick an area and put the work in. You know, I try and spend a little bit more time. I used to spend shorter amounts of time in the bush. Now I'll try and do one trip with a lot of time on the clock and cover ground slowly, but check out new ranges and keep pushing in new spots. But yeah, I take advantage of the resources I have available to me. I reach out to friends, I chat with friends. Like this year, a good buddy of mine, Kyle, again, we're going back up north, and him and I kind of just get together. We'll have a few whiskey nights, good excuse to get the family together for a barbecue, and we'll just start pulling open maps and looking at different ranges and areas, and kind of look where we've had success in the past, where we know kind of general areas where some of our other friends have had success. And we don't always want to go back to the same spots too. So you start looking at similar features in those areas, and yeah, try and find different spots where it might work out. That's probably not the best answer there, but that's the honest answer that I got for you.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that is the number one answer that I hear from people. I've asked that question several times, and luckily, my network and our network as a group and a community is growing too. And I've noticed the exact same thing. You don't go in and say, hey, where should I go? If you've got an idea, you can go to somebody on the platform or at the sheep show or at the banquets and say, you ever hunted this area? That's all you got to say. And if they have, they're usually going to let you know, right? Unless they don't like you, and then they won't.
That, and also two other things that really help is if they've seen you've gone out and worked hard and put the
Yeah.
effort forward and maybe haven't been successful, but you really like dug deep and pushed it. Like you didn't hike 2 days off the highway and you're back at the truck in 3 days. Like you're out there, you're grinding, you're trying to make it happen, and it doesn't work out. People respect that, and you'll start getting a little bit more responses when you're chatting with people. And then also not just attending these events is a great first step, but becoming an active participant, doing some volunteering, attending some of the counts, attending some of these other events. Then all of a sudden you're showing that you're truly passionate about the community. And when you start doing that, I would say that, you start getting a little bit more intel on that front as well. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you get engaged in this community, and it does pay rewards. And if it isn't like helping you become a better hunter or sheep hunter, the friendships that you get by doing those things are just unbelievable. Because let's face it, we're all cool people in the hunting space, right? Most of us, or you should be. And like, it is a community, like it's a family. Like that's the Wild Sheep Society conference is like the biggest family reunion you could ever go to, in my opinion. It literally is. What about, you did touch on it a little bit, the duration of a backcountry hunt or sheep hunt for you now, as far as time in the field on a trip? Do you like 14 days? Is that kind of your benchmark?
12 to 14 days is really where I find to be a sweet spot. It's easy to show up home early. I always tell my wife, you know what, if we get successful early, I'll be home quick, so don't worry. But she just laughs and says, don't say that anymore, because I'm out there right till the bitter end. That's the way it always goes. But like, if you can get a 12 to 14 day stint, it gives you opportunities to go into an area, maybe not see what you want, not have success, and check a new area. I found if you don't leave yourself that much time, and again, I'm fortunate I can take that much time. I know for most people, I would just say take as long as you can to be up there, to check out different areas. Because if you're up there on like a 6 or 7 day and you don't find success in those first 3-4 days, you're going to start feeling frantic, and you're probably going to rush some spots. You're not going to take the time to glass properly, and you're going to rush through there. Whereas, if you've got 12 to 14 days, you can probably effectively hunt 2-3 different ranges and like really put in that proper time, cover some ground, and you're just creating a better opportunity for that success. And let's be honest, to get up there and go sheep hunting, like you're talking a day, 2 days minimum on either end as well. So if you're already doing a 4-day commitment for travel, if at all possible, I always try now to extend the amount of time I can be in the field, because sometimes that extra 1 to 2 days, I can't tell you how many hunts we've been on for sheep and other species where it's funny how many things always seem to fall into place in the last day or two. So,
yeah, for sure. No, it's good stuff. I think the longer the better, and it's such a big investment. The especially if you're using a third party transporter and not your boots, right? If it's jet boat or an airplane or whatever you're using. On that note, what do you like to use for transport? Do you mix it up? I don't want to give away where you're going, but there is lots of airspace and lots of water out there up north. So what do you like best?
I've done a little bit of everything. I've done some horseback hunts. I've flown in, I've hiked, and I've done the jet boat. I'll say jet boat and horseback are probably the best, especially if you have the horses or the jet boat with you, because you can check an area and you can be mobile and agile. Plane is phenomenal because you can reach those remote areas and you can get hunting the next day. But you are going to be limited because you're tied to that area. And if it's your first time flying into an area, you're going to have limited experience into that spot. But yeah, lately I've really been enjoying flying in. I've been trying to fly into different areas and check out remote areas, but I've had a lot of success jet boat. Jet boats are one of those things that's great to have a friend with a jet boat, but if it's your own jet boat, they're very expensive, very quick. I guess it's the same with horses too. Horses are phenomenal and you're very mobile and agile. But again, I don't have any horses myself, so that one doesn't happen too often. But lately I've definitely been enjoying flying in.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there's pros and cons to both. Transportation in general now is just so expensive too. I mean, you've got to choose wisely which way you're gonna go. We're getting a couple questions or one
I
question here.
just
You
I
saw
just saw
Dylan's?
that, yeah. I can kind of work through. So I think Clay jumped in with the first one, or just a
Sure.
comment. Ample time helps because weather doesn't always go your way. Yeah, I mean, northern hunts. I don't think there's been a single one where I haven't lost at least 2 days, where you're stuck in a tent. And again, same thing is if you don't find success in the first 2 to 3 days of a hunt in an area, you start kind of rushing things. I think the same thing happens on a short trip. If you get weathered in for 2 days, you get out and you start kind of just rushing things. So I totally agree. Always plan on probably 2 days of just bad weather. And then Dylan, what are your recommendations on the best supplement options to pack for daily recovery on a long hunt? I don't think I have it in my office, but one thing I really like bringing in the mountains with me is I'll bring some sort of immune booster, like a vitamin C, like those NRC type things. They're pretty light, just to make sure I'm up on my minerals. But then also I bring in like a magnesium powder that I take before bed. It's got some magnesium, and some different stuff to put me in a deeper sleep faster. I used to run really light on my sleep systems, like a cheap air pad, thinner sleeping bag, so I could be lighter on the mountains. And I found that I burnt out really quick on a hunt. So a
Sure.
proper quality sleep is one of the things that'll keep you in the right mind, like mental space on a hunt. So I pack a thicker sleeping pad now, heavier sleeping bag to make sure I'm sleeping, and I take a good magnesium supplement. Um, Magnesium is important for the recovery of your muscles, preventing cramping, but it also puts you into that deeper sleep faster. So you're not, struggling to get out of the sleeping bag. I found that. I think I run a lot of the supplements I take. It's a Canadian company called Beyond Yourself. They have
Mm-hmm.
one called Amino Z, and it's got some different things in there, some amino acids and stuff like that that are just made for relaxing you and knocking you out. So take a scoop of that right before bed. Kicks my butt. And then next one down, absolutely, I'm a huge believer in salt pills.
Me too. Me too. They're
They're
amazing. It's
Yeah.
an instant reaction almost in your body. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And you're going to be running on low water. You're going to be exerting yourself. You're going to be sweating. Your clothes are going to be crunchy from salt stains if you're putting in the work out there. And I cramp really easy. I'm a big guy. I overheat, and if I don't get those minerals back in, because you're not just losing water, you're losing all of those minerals, that salt, and you can go into like I get full body cramps, like my groins, everything starts locking up, and it gets bad. And then I found like I started doing some research on forums about like ultra marathon runners. They don't
Mhm.
pack all those big heavy gels and those big packs. The stuff they use are just these little tablets. Are called salt sticks,
Yeah.
and you can buy. They're cheap, like $30 for 200 or something like that. You can get some that have some caffeine, or others that are just a small little gel capsule. And you pop a few of those every half an hour to an hour while you're hiking, and those will definitely help reduce some of that fatigue as you're crushing the hills.
Yeah, I think so. The ones that we take, I think I saw the ones we have are orange. They got an orange flavor. They're almost like popping a vitamin C pill. And I keep a bottle of those in my hip belt on my pack.
Mhm.
And I think I got that tip from you a few years ago. You might have shared it on Instagram, but I get
Yeah,
cramps too. I get cramps, and it does help.
it's bad.
Just another little tip. I'll tell you what I use to help me get a better sleep. So a lot of people know this, but some may not. For many years, my job involved almost 200 days a year of international travel. So I was flying on jets every week, long haul flights, 10, 12, 16-hour flights. And I used to really struggle with sleep and jet lag. And what I have found that works for me is I just go to Shoppers Drug Mart or local pharmacy, and I think it's a Jameson brand, but you can buy magnesium pills with
Mhm.
5 milligrams of melatonin. And I
Yes.
started in on those. And I take those regularly. And then also I use 10 milligrams. I think it's milligrams. Yes, I think that's the measurement. I could be wrong, butchering it. But the 10 milligram quick dissolve melatonin. And I've used those on hunts as well. And they don't knock you out and leave you sleepy. They help you get to sleep. That's the
Hmm.
difference. And that magnesium tip is a good one because you're right. That is one of the biggest things for recovery that I've found. And I think if you mix those things together, like you said, a few little supplements, you'd be amazed at how good you perform, recover.
Yeah, I want to say I think there's some of that in the powder that I take as well,
Hmm.
because it's exactly it. It helps you recover, but mentally, like you're gonna have self-doubt. You're gonna have if you're out there for those long periods of time. If you're weathered in your tent for 2 days, you're gonna have so many things going on in your head. If you add sleep deprivation into that,
Yeah,
for any reason, like it can rock you and make you question, and it'll get you off the mountain faster than you need to be. So,
sure.
you
Yeah.
know, that proper sleep and especially if you're up there for opener, days are long and you need to take advantage of every second of sleep you can. So don't waste any time knocking yourself out quick, getting a good meal in your belly, knocking yourself out and hitting the hay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can make you so you're hunting as hard on the last day as you are on the first day.
Yeah, good stuff, Joe. Awesome. What about choosing a hunting partner? Have you gone through a bunch of different people on these extreme hunts? I mean, you got a cameraman, which has got to be a whole thing in itself to figure out. But tell me about that.
It's tough. Like I've joked with some guys and we've said that finding a good hunting partner is harder than finding a wife
Yeah.
because, you're only with, like when you're hunting with somebody, again, it's sometimes you share a shelter and you're stuck like shoulder to shoulder for 2 days in a tent. Um, and finding somebody that has the same drive, that's willing to go into the same areas and push as hard as you, similar hunt tactics. Um, yeah, it's very challenging. I've made the mistake. Same thing with a camera guy, videographer. Without fail, there's a few times a year where we have schedule conflicts for some reason. I've got to hunt with a new videographer. Um, and finding a cameraman that can get out there and have that same passion for capturing the hunt as I have for being successful on the hunt is challenging because it's easy for me to wake up early because I want to go and hunt and hit the hills, or I can push through sore legs and whatever it may be, calorie deficits. But if the camera guy doesn't have the same gumption, it makes it a pretty challenging hunt. I mean, one trip, we had a camera guy wake up after being weathered in the tent for 2.5 days, and he took one day's worth of food, packed up his gear, hiked back to the highway, hitchhiked all the way back into town, stayed in a motel for a night, caught a flight out. And we had to self-film the rest of the hunt. I had one little handy cam on my cell phone, and we filmed the rest of the
No
hunt
shit.
because he couldn't hack being in a tent for 2.5 days. I can't, like, it was an absolute, like, we got smashed. Our tents were folding down, hitting us in the nose. It was absolutely miserable. It was like a nerve-wracking situation. So he packed up and left. We had another hunt where the cameraman just couldn't hack it. We had to take 2 days out of the hunt, get out of the bush, get in the truck, drive all the way up to Whitehorse, fly him out, stay at a hotel, fly in a new videographer, get him back in, and take another 2.5 days to
Oh,
get back to
jeez.
where we were and pick the hunt up again. So now I don't go into hunts like that with people unless we've done some significant hikes or hunts previously, and have a lot of hard, tough conversations about what your expectations are on the hunt. What your hunting tactic styles are like, how hard you want to push it, what type of terrain you're willing to go into to be successful. All of those types of things. And even videographers, I don't like taking a cameraman in the bush unless we've done some like
Yeah.
last year I had a hunt coming up, and I had the videographer meet me in my driveway at 4 in the morning. We drove 2 hours north of my place, parked the truck at the base of a mountain, and it was in the summer, and I didn't stop till we were in deep snow.
Hmm.
But the whole time he was smiling and keeping with me pace for pace, so I knew he could hang. And
Yeah.
that's how you find out who can really do the work. Because it's easy to say you can do the work, it's easy to say you can push. But when you're in those situations is when you really see what people are capable of.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to it than the physical ability, right? Like you have to. That's like the that's like the ultimate job interview, right? So here's your job, buddy. You're gonna carry all this weight around, and you're gonna be filming me, and you're gonna be excited about it, and you're gonna go where I go when I go. So let's try it, right? Like holy shit.
Physical ability, and I'll say, like, I've seen people that I thought were gonna have an easy time in the bush buckle because the
Hmm.
mental side got them. And I've seen people that I thought were gonna really struggle absolutely shine when they got out there because they just had the drive.
Yeah.
And that's something that's hard to really find until you're in some of those tough hunts. That's why you really got to push it because, um, like, yes, don't get me wrong. Like, I got an exercise bike right here. I do a lot of training. I do a lot of prep for it because the physical aspect of it is huge. But I will say a lot of the prep that has helped me over the years is mental because if you're driven, if you're motivated, you can push yourself into some crazy situations and get through a lot. You can be the fittest guy on the block, but if you're mentally weak or something's not right up top when you head in the bush, you just had a big fight with the wife or something's going wrong,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised how quick you can end up back at the truck.
You know, it's funny. The segues are incredible because literally the next thing on my list, Joe, was mental and physical training and prep for that. So the training on the physical side, I think, you know, we could talk about it all day long. But I mean, at the end of the day, physical training, if you can find a way to train with some weight on your back and build up your cardio, you don't need to be an ultra marathoner to be a successful backcountry hunter. You do need to be able to go long distances at your own pace and get there. And
Yeah.
I think the most important thing, I know the most important thing is that mental toughness. And it's real easy for people to say, well, train yourself on mental toughness. So what do we do then? Do we read a Cam Hanes book, or do we, you know, I mean, like, it's an honest question, I think. Like,
Yeah.
how do you train it? Like, you have to have some tough shit in your life, for one, at some point, right? I don't know. I mean, I think it's an
Yeah,
interesting discussion.
that's a great question. Yeah, it's not like you can wake up every morning and say, okay, for 20 minutes, I'm going to work on mental toughness today.
Yeah,
I mean, don't
exactly.
get me wrong, some of those mindset books and stuff, I'm sure have positive impact. I've listened to probably all of the ones you talk about, and I'm sure like I get a lot of drive from it. I grew up in an athletic background where we were
Mm-hmm.
kind of pushed to that side of things, and I reacted really well to that approach of, the mental toughness side. And basically, I was fat, overweight. I looked like a chubby girl when I was younger and decided I didn't want to be that way anymore. And I had doctor's notes saying I didn't have to go to PE because if I worked out, my ligaments in my legs were going to snap because I was too big and I went through too big of growth spurts and stuff. But I was just very unhappy physically with myself. And one day I woke up and I was like, screw the excuses. I'm going to make my change. And I made that change for myself at a young age. And it absolutely changed the trajectory of my life. But asking me how you can train somebody to
I
do
know
that. And
it's
then fortunately
a
for me,
loaded
like
question, right?
I directly saw the benefit of taking that mindset and it started changing my life. And then I saw the more I did it and applied those mindsets, the better my life got. But yeah, just pushing through hard situations. It's kind of funny. I was talking about the other day about like pack outs. Your first
Mhm.
pack out, whether it's 50 yards from the truck or 500 meters from the truck or how far, it's going to seem overwhelming and challenging, no matter what animal it is. But then all of a sudden, the farther you get from the truck, the worse situation you get in. All those other pack outs after that seem easier. Everything is relative, right? Everything is relative with regards to what's your worst pack out been. Every other pack out after that doesn't seem as bad as number of times I've been
Mhm.
hiking out and I'm like, oh, at least it's not X. You know what? Yeah, we're not going to get back to camp until 5:30 this morning, but it's not raining.
Yeah.
Or, like whatever it may be. At least I had to hike out one night. I didn't have any more water. And like now I'm hiking out and I'm like, well, it's raining. We're cold. We're miserable, but I got an
Mhm.
animal on my back and I'm hiking next to a creek. Like I can do this for days now. So
Yeah.
it is kind of just making sure that you've experienced some of those harder times. Absolutely pushing through harder workouts, pushing through harder hikes, you know, forcing yourself sometimes to get up earlier than you want to. Making
Yeah.
those harder decisions and making the right decisions will ultimately help. And it's kind of one of those like aggregation of marginal gains. Each day
Yeah.
focus on getting that 1% better, and then you'll be pretty surprised where you're at in a few years.
Yeah. And I will say this. My reference to Cam Hanes was sort of teasing, but I have a lot of respect for Cam, and I've taken a few pages out of his book personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, one of the things that he talks about a lot is routine, right? You build yourself a routine. It does a few
Yep.
things for you. It creates a self-discipline system in your body and your mind, right? So like, I mean, if you're on like, I look at my sort of strategy now, or my mission statement personally that I keep to myself is I give myself the first 2 hours of every day, because I'm not getting old. I'm not getting younger. I'm getting older, and I'm trying to be better in the mountains, not worse. And I like to think I
Mm-hmm.
am. So the first 2 hours of the day are mine. I get up in the morning at the same time. I have a cup of coffee. I do a few emails for work, and then I have a workout. And that workout will vary depending on how I feel, but I always make sure I get, a 30-minute something in, no matter what. Since I started doing that, I've also thought, what's the worst that can happen in a bad situation, right? So if you're hiking out in a pack out in the middle of the night, Ed and I were packing out my goat last year in the rain, and I I slipped and cracked my tailbone on a rock with a 80, 90-pound pack. And Ed's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, what's the worst can happen, man? It's my ass. I got 2 legs, I got 2 boots, and a heartbeat, and a freaking beautiful goat on my back." I didn't even think about that on the way out, right? I made it out, no problem. It was, we were back at camp in 2 hours. But at the end of the day, there's only one real way to really get trained in mental toughness, and that's to figure out what adversities in your life, I think, and challenge it. And a good Ed points this out too. I see it in the chat. A lot of mental toughness comes from strong home support. If you're lucky enough to have that, I don't think there's anything more true than that, right? It's amazing. Oh, and
yeah,
I was just going to say, your family background was that way, right? Like a lot of people are, today's society, kids are raised a little softer. I'll just be gentle when I say that. But, I have a feeling, and I do know a little bit about your upbringing. I mean, tell us about that. Was it mental toughness part of your upbringing as a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. Mental upbringing or mental toughness was one of those things. I mean, my father was, I guess, a little bit of a stubborn German, you could say. It was one of those, if you want to go in the mountains and you want to come hunting with me, you're going to keep up with me. And there was times where, I mean, we were wearing hand-me-down logging clothes and thrift store clothes when we were going. And yeah, it was, I mean, I can remember coming back to the truck, not feeling my legs, not feeling my hands, and soaked to the bone. And there was some sketchy situations back then, but it was, you have to make a decision. Do you want to hunt or do you want to stay home next week? And if you want to hunt, you just knew that's what you're signing up for. And I think ultimately some of that probably, nowadays, some people might see that as pushing kids too hard, but I think it did. It instilled a drive in me. And I have said it I did say it my entire athletic career. That's a long time ago now. But I did say it my entire athletic career, people, like those experiences in the outdoors prepared me for my athletic career and prepared me for that understanding, and also prepared me for understanding that you can work as hard as you want and sacrifice so hard for something and do all the right things and you can still lose. So it prepares you to be able to lose. But it prepares you to be able to go out there and push it day in and day out and give it all you got. So mental toughness was definitely a part of our upbringing. I don't want to make it sound like my dad was a bad dad. He was a phenomenal dad. We all have our flaws, but he certainly knew how to push us pretty hard in the hills. And and it was, if you're here with me, he loved to hike. He loved to push it. And if you wanted to go in the mountains, that was the decision you made. So it's not like he forced us. Maybe he did kind of suggest that we had to get out there with him, but if we wanted to stay home, that was our choice. But we chose to get back out there and keep hunting with him.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I would just say this, I think for those, especially on a sheep hunt, if you want to try to bring out the mental toughness from within, think about what you're committing to before you go out in those mountains and what your family's committing to. If you're leaving a wife at home who's got to take care of those kids for 15, 16 days, your work, everything, put that all in the front of your mind and think about the commitment. And then when you're up there on those mountains, think about it as what you owe those people and what you owe those responsibilities. Like, hey, I've made this decision. What's the worst that can happen? I'm on vacation with my buddy and I'm here to experience the North. Don't worry about tagging out. Just push, right? It's raining. Great. It's raining. Right on. Probably won't rain tomorrow. Maybe it will. Who knows, right?
I've said one of the, it's kind of funny. I've said one of the most freeing things about having kids. Everybody asks, having kids, is that going to change the way you hunt? And I won't lie, like on a goat hunt last year, there was a ridge we probably could have pushed along a pretty sketchy razorback to get to this one plateau. And I opted to turn around and hike back down because I wanted to make sure I got home to my kids. So have I backed out of some of the dumber stuff that I would have done earlier on? Yes, but at the same time, that staying power is there because just like what you said is I think about the fact I'm away from my wife. I'm afraid away from my kids to be out there. And I quite often think, okay, if I had to explain why I left the mountain to my son, would he respect that? Because that's
Yeah.
to be honest, once you have kids, the only people's opinion that I care about, if I can explain something honestly to my kids one day, I don't give a I don't give a heck what anybody else says. I really don't
Mm-hmm.
anymore. I used to, but I don't anymore. It's if I can honestly explain the situation to my kids and say this is why I did it and I can feel good about it, that's it. But there's been times on the mountain where I sit there and you start getting those second
Mm-hmm.
guesses in your head.
Starts creeping
And
in.
I just sit there and I'm like, man, like my kids at home going to sleep without me right now. Can I sit there
Yeah.
and say I hiked down early off the ridge today because of X, Y, and Z? And
Mm-hmm.
and you'd be surprised how much extra pep in your step you get when you start thinking about it that way. So what people are giving up for you to be there, and just kind of like you said, remember who's counting on you to be out there.
Yeah, flip it. That's what I always do. And, I'll just say this, Joe, as a father of three, and all three hunt and have done, lots of trips with me. Wait till you have them in the field with you. And then it becomes, you're almost at a proving point, right? You've got to prove to them, hey, I'm still your dad. I'm the guy. I taught you everything you know. And then you'll find out quickly when they get to a certain age, all of a sudden they're teaching you shit that you didn't know about. Happens to me all the time. And Blake and I have this crazy relationship in the, as father and son, partners on this platform, sheep hunting partners. And there's times where we kind of grade on each other. But for me as a father, when I'm in the bush with him or on an extended trip, I find myself motivated to try to prove to him that this old fart can still do it, And, it may not happen for many, many years for you, but one day
Oh,
it will.
I already know it's gonna happen. I mean, the way my boys are growing, it's gonna happen real quick here. But
Yeah.
yeah, the way I punish my body over the years, I'm sure it'll happen sooner than I'm ready for. But I'm counting on it because my knees aren't getting any younger. My shoulder's pretty beat up. I got a bad back and a bad neck, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
those boys will be my pack meals before. But
Yeah.
I'm
They do
also
that.
I'm extremely competitive, so I know I'm not going to relinquish the reins easily. I'm going to make them earn it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny. It's just fun to watch. Like I watch you with your kids, and yeah, it's just gonna be it's an amazing journey. I'm excited for you. Well, let's jump over to some gear stuff now. Um, let's kind of go through your pack a little bit here and what you like to take. How about shelter system? What do you run? What's Joe run? I mean, you don't fit in some tents, Joe. Let's be honest. What do you run?
I'm, I'll be honest, shelter system, I've ran a lot and I'm still not in love with my shelter system in the backcountry. My favorite ones that I've ran, to be honest, have been the sawtooth systems from Kafaru, like the
Hmm.
floorless ones. So sawtooth, also the super tarp gives you a lot of space. Super tarp's a little more low profile for some of that, if you're going to be in a windier spot. But there's a lot of disadvantages as well to those floorless shelters when you get hit with those 2 days in there and if you're getting hit with that snow or those flash floods,
Hmm.
also those high winds, you still get, unless you're packing the rocks right around the edges, you're still going to have some of that wind come through the bottoms. So they're not great, but my challenge is I'm 6'8" or 203 centimeters. So a lot of the footprints in these tents are supposed to be long enough for me, but I either get contact on my head or my feet. And I get that
Sure.
condensation and start dealing with wet sleeping bags. So any of you giants out there, if you've got a great recommendation for a backcountry tent, that's probably one of the things that I'm still looking for, that favorite ideal backcountry tent that can have the footprint for someone my height. But yeah, I mean,
I'll
I'm
give you a
trying to
tip,
think.
Joe. There's
Yeah,
a
I'm
tent that
open.
might work for you. Have you looked at the Durston tents? The Durston gear
Uh,
tents?
no, I'm not sure if I have.
Check out the X-Mid models of those tents. They're super ultra light. You can get a couple different models. You can get a Dyneema fabric one, and you'll see when it's hard to explain on a call, but the geometry of the design of the footprint. If you got the two-person, it's a trekking pole tent, but it's got a bathtub floor in it. It's very durable. I've used
Oh,
them for a couple of years. They handle wind as good as a teepee, in my opinion. and you should check them out. They're made in
Yeah,
BC or
I'll give them a look.
designed in BC, and I think you would be able to go into a 2-person one, and they are on an angle anyway, and I bet you got enough room. But see if it works. Check it out.
You might have just changed my whole fall. I hope you have. Because
I hope so
I
too.
really do enjoy the floorless. For just they're so versatile. You can cook inside, do all of that. There's just a few reasons why I would like something a little more skookum when I'm in the backcountry for just again some of those really rough weather situations. So I'm gonna check that out, or I might just get you to send me a link after the chat here.
I will. Yeah, you bet. So Jen just asked. It's Durston Gear. Dan Durston is the inventor, and he lives in Revelstoke. It's a through hiker. He's a through hiker, and he came up with this design. He's also got a new freestanding tent, which I just purchased, the X Dome, and I'm going to be running that on my sheep hunt this year. So I'll be doing some video here probably tomorrow. I'm going to film if it's not raining. But anyway, we're going off track. It's not about me; it's about you. Okay, there's your shelter. What about your sleep system? Are you a quilt or a sleeping bag? Which way do you go?
I run sleeping bags.
Okay.
Typically early season, I'll run like a treated down bag. Really early season, and then kind of that, late September, early October, I'll start switching over to a synthetic. I know the down bags now are treated with Nick wax, so they're, you're not going to have issues with moisture. I just mid-season, for some reason, I just really like switching over to that synthetic. I find that even on the bottoms or any of those pressure points, believe it or not, I'm a big guy, and even in, the bigger sleeping bags, I still put a little bit extra pressure on the sides, so you can get some of those cold patches. And I really enjoy the peace of mind and the comfort of having that synthetic probably later in the season. But I use the Alaska Down from Canis for early season, and then I run the Kafaru Slick bag later in the year. Again, both are great sleeping bags, and I'm sure you could run the season with either. I like to switch it up a bit, and down obviously is just so much more compact. It saves a lot of space in your backpack.
Yeah, for sure. I slipped into the Canis one when I bumped into you in Salt Lake with the booth with the boys. They had one on a cot there. Yeah, and right after you walked away, they were like, "Chuck, you got to jump in this." I tried it. Holy shit, that's a nice setup. Very nice bag. Yeah,
they're great, and those side baffles, so you can open them up and give yourself a little bit extra room in there, and then that sleeve you're not rolling off of your sleeping pad is key, because we've all done that dance.
Oh yeah, I started running a quilt a couple years ago, and I'm never going back. I'm
really?
Down quilt. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I've got a setup with I run what's the name of those Xped mats? I've got 2 or 3 of them, and I bought an ultralight sheet that it's like a half sheet. I got it from Z-Packs, I think, and it's almost like a little cover that slips over the top third of your sleeping pad, and it's got a pillow holster in it. And then I just run my quilt around, and I'm a side sleeper, and I toss and turn. It's a game changer. I've never slept so good, and this will be my 3rd season with it. And so it's it's something. I won't say it's new, but if you're a side sleeper, it's worth exploring. Yeah, it's definitely a different.
That speaking of a pillow holder, I spent a lot of years just tucking my synthetic jacket into the sleeve and using that as a pillow and kind of puffing up your jacket using that as a pillow. One thing I definitely bring with me now is one of those little 1-ounce inflatable pillows. The mistake I made the first time was I always used to blow it up full, and I hated the thing for the longest time, but I only blow it up like a third of the way, and it just gives your head enough of that little cradle to kind of push you to sleep. Like for 1 ounce, I think they're 1.2 ounces or whatever it may be, just those really minimal ones. I will always pack that pillow with me everywhere I go.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a must-have in a pack now is a pillow. What about sleeping pad? I might have missed it when you were talking. Did you say which pad you used?
I run the Thermarest Neo Air X Therm, I think is the one. I'm not sure. They might have a newer version of it. It's the really big, thick one with the high R value. And I've ran the kind of body bag shape one before, but I just I guess I move around a little bit at night. So now I just bring the large size. Another nice thing about the other nice thing as well is if you can't get a perfectly flat spot with the rectangle one, I'll start tucking my food bags underneath the edges of my sleeping pad, and you kind of create a bit of a wedge. And you
Yeah.
can't really do that with the body shaped ones because you have such limited surface area. So with the bigger ones, you can kind of tuck rocks or whatever it may be underneath those edges and kind of create that saddle. So if you have to camp on a hillside or in a rough spot, you can hold yourself on top of your mat.
Yeah. No, good tips for sure. And I've done the same. Because 9 times out of 10 it ain't flat. No matter where you
No.
are, it's not perfect.
Yeah,
We're going fast because I'm trying to manage time. So forgive me if
let's
I'm
do it.
hustling, but cooking system, stove and stuff. What do you run?
I run a jet boil on
Yeah.
most. A few times I've ran the MSR. Um, I don't know what it was, which MSR it was last year. It had a bit of a slow leak, and we went through our fuel a little quick. I think it might have just been
Mm,
a faulty unit. Um, I had that really lightweight jet boil for a while because oh, it's great. You're going to save a little bit of weight. It took 2 to 3 times as long to boil. The one that didn't have that neoprene sleeve around the outside,
yeah.
because the design was ultralight, I had to pack 2 to 3 times as much fuel just
Hmm.
to save a little bit of weight. I'm like completely not worth it. So I just run a standard, um, like the 1 liter
Yeah.
jet boil now with the neoprene sleeve, and it's one of those things, tried and true, hasn't failed me, so I'm just going to keep running it.
No, it's a good brand for sure. Are you a water filtration guy, or are you pills, or what do you call the UV light? Which way do you
SteriPen.
go? SteriPen. Yeah, that's it, eh?
I've done I've done a little bit of it all. For the longest time, I did none of it. And
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? I grew up drinking puddle water in Squamish, so I'll be fine. And 2 years back to back, I lost a lot of weight coming home from hunts. We'll leave the details out of it, but
Yeah, no doubt.
yeah, so I kind of learned my lesson the hard way. I don't like the tabs and everything, and I had some very close calls with the SteriPen. Um, I've switched a lot of my stuff to rechargeable, so it's a rechargeable SteriPen. And we were hiking out at night, and I think it had been about 2 hours since we had seen our last water source, and we were getting pretty thirsty, and we came across a pond in this kind of marshy area. And I went down, I filled up my water bottle. I was in need of water, and I SteriPenned it. And I went, this water kind of looks sketchy. So I SteriPenned it twice, and I knew it was a little murky, and I started drinking it, and it was not the best water I've ever tasted. As I was about halfway through my Nalgene, a beaver slapped its tail about 10 feet in front of me to
Oh,
let me know that it
perfect.
didn't like that I was on the pond. And I did not have a single issue with that water. Like
Really?
that to me has said everything, because I've definitely had issues with beaver water before. So like I've had a lot of situations where I've had to SteriPen. Now it doesn't change the taste. It's not going to filter out some of those contaminants, but I found it to be very compact, very lightweight, and it's gotten me out of some sticky situations. Um, Filters are great, all of that. I'm a big dude. I'm like a horse. I go through water fast, and I like to
Hmm.
have quick access. And those SteriPens will do a liter to a liter and a half in like a minute, 2 minutes.
Hmm.
So I just that's what I run typically.
So when you're, let's say you're collecting water for a couple days in one shot, let's say you're obviously running like MSR bags or something like that to carry water.
Yeah.
How do you run a SteriPen in that situation? Are you doing it all at once, or do you just do it as you need it? Like, do you
So I'll
SteriPen?
have like in my bag, I think what is it? The platypus system or something that I have it that the bladder I've liked, it has a heavy enough flow for the tube that I run in my backpack. I got a 3 liter bag that I run in my backpack, or I'll have a 4 liter MSR one as well that I
Hmm.
keep at camp. But I just sit down, I one Nalgene at a time. That's what I
Okay.
do. I just to make sure that I'm doing the right ratios for the SteriPen, and I'll
Hmm.
just take some time in the morning, boil some water, throw it in my oatmeal or whatever it may be, and then I just take my time. Or even if you're up in sheep country and some nasty spots and you got to take your time, it's water is something I don't mess with anymore.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate both times that I had fun. I was on my way home when it hit me, because it does take
Oh
time
yeah.
for the bacteria to start growing in your stomach. And the one time I kind of laughed, actually, we were getting towards the tail end of a hunt. We were really dry. The water looked like it was coming out of the side of a hill, so it looked like a mountain spring. And I was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? Started drinking it, hiked 50 yards up above, and there's a plateau and just beaver drag marks everywhere and chewed off
Oh yeah.
branches. And I kind of looked at my cameraman. I was like, well, we already drank the water because we had rushed it. And then I looked at my watch and I was like, and we're only here for 4 days, so it's going to hit us when we get home anyways. So who cares? But yeah, if that hits you when you're in the backcountry, like you're hooped. You're done.
Yeah, absolutely. And unless you're Wasey and he's commenting, because there's a pretty interesting story behind Wasey's issue with beaver water. He just muscled his way through it on a hunt with Tyler a few years ago. It's
You know what?
footage. It's awful.
I don't know if Lacey's the more impressive one or Tyler or that because if you have to be sitting next to somebody who's got that going on, like there is nothing pleasant about you at that point in time.
There's not. You know, I think everybody's got these stories, Joe. I know my crew, my boys and I got on one of our first elk hunts up jet boat trip up north. We were like, oh, this water's fantastic. We don't need to filter, blah, 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 blah. And it was like a 10-day hunt. And then we were home for a couple days and it hit. And my cousin was in Saskatchewan. It was in the company to hunt. I brought him out. And quite literally, he's about my age, a couple of years younger. It was like 4 or 5 days after we got home. I was sitting on the toilet for like the 13th time that morning, texting Darren. And I'm like, how are you doing? And I hadn't talked to him, and he goes, I'm sitting on the toilet. I've been here all morning. I'm going to die. Like, we had this crazy exchange. It was awful. It's not fun. And again, nobody wants to be around you. It's horrible. It's awful. But
I can't imagine trying to push through it in the backcountry. And yeah, it's funny because I had the same situation. We came back from a hunt, and I actually messaged my camera guy. And it was very, like, we hadn't chatted for a few days. You know, you come out of the bush, you've been together for way too long. You're like,
done.
You know what? Love you, bud, but don't call me for 2 weeks. Like that kind of thing. And it had been a few days and I woke up and through the night, it started hitting me and I'd been on the throne a few times. And I just sent him a message. I said, how are you doing? He said, are you going through the same? I said, yep. And I think that's all we said to each other. Like, and it was like, we went back and it was almost like within half an hour, we had both made the run for the bathroom at the same time. But not fun. I tell you what, though, if you're looking for a good way to lose weight before the sheep hunt, if you can go find yourself a beaver puddle, drink a liter of that about a month before your camp, and you're gonna be 30 pounds lighter before you hit the hills.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an American guy and you've got lots of money, you just go get Ozempic. If you're a Canadian sheep hunter, you just get Giardia and shit it out of yourself, right? It's the best way to do it. Oh, God. That was a dark hole. Let's talk a little bit about food, Joe. I know you're changing your diet around a little bit. You're trying to go a little bit less sugar. How's that going?
Yeah.
You got a good meal plan for this year?
Yeah, I typically run. Over the years, I've tried to figure out kind of what my bonk level is, basically. I've tried to go really lightweight because weights, like food's just one of those weights that you have to take with you. But especially when you're doing 12 to 14 days, it adds up quick. I try and be like that high 3,000 calories a day, like 3,500 to 3,800 on most days. And then I'll have a few meals or a few days that are like 41 to 4,200 calories where you're really starting to struggle and you need something to kick you back into gear. But I noticed over the years, I relied on just those super high calorie snacks, and a lot of them are really sugary. And you get those huge spikes that make you feel like Superman. So you push yourself too fast, too hard, and you burn out and you get chasing these spikes and valleys. So I've kind of started looking at what I eat on most of my hikes during the off season, my training stuff during the off season, and it wasn't a lot of those sugary bars. It was more meats, cheeses, fats, things like that. And I had a lot more sustained energy, so I started dabbling with that. And I'm really trying to push off a lot of that sugar when I'm in the backcountry. I mean, also like with my meals, I'm a big guy because I need those calories. So my dinners, I typically take 1.5 dinners. Okay. So I'll take 3 dinners, open them all up, and I'll pour half. I weigh it out, and I pour half into each other night. I also dabble with MCT powder, which is medium chain triglyceride fatty acids, basically dehydrated coconut oil, and then some dehydrated peanut butter powder as well. Use those as good ways to add some calories in there. I used to just use the peanut butter powder, and then I realized that peanut butter is really high in fat, but that's because it gets from the oils in the peanut butter. So when you dehydrate the peanut butter, you lose that fat. So that's why you want to add in those the MCT powder as well. And you can get a lot of extra calories. Don't go too heavy with it because just like the other, it'll have you
Oh
burn
yeah,
through your
I've
toilet
heard
paper
that.
pretty quick. But if you do it reasonably, a little bit with your dinner and a little bit with your breakfast, it's a very good energy source, and you're getting energy from fat. So that's very bioavailable when you're in the backcountry. But that, a lot of dehydrated or freeze-dried cheeses. Um, I've been getting into making biltong, but
Yeah.
like biltong is basically like a South African jerky, but it's just salt, pepper, coriander, and some vinegar for curing. It does have a limited shelf life because it doesn't have a lot of curing salts in there.
Hmm.
But it's not super fatty. So I've actually started, I've found some good sources for cured meats. And if
Yeah.
you're someone like me that you liked having that switch of like, okay, some nights you'll have your peanut butter O. Henry, some nights you'll have your Snickers, some nights you'll have your Score bar or your Eat More. You like that change.
Hmm.
So there's these meats and the cheeses, they have a lot of different flavors for both of them, and they're actually
Hmm.
different. They're not like the gas station jerky where they all taste the same.
Yeah.
They're actually quite a bit different. So you do get that variation so you're not bored.
Yeah, I'm on a similar journey. So I went on to the carnivore diet about a year ago, and I didn't go hardcore like Brian Call or some of these guys. So I was more of a ketovore diet. So I eliminated, basically, the short answer is I eliminated carbohydrates and reduced sugars down to almost nothing. And there is some very good alternatives for snacks and stuff in the backcountry. A lot of
Mhm.
protein-based ones that are out there that are good. Like, for example, there's a company, First Nations group in Saskatchewan called Mitso, and they make pemmican.
I've seen that.
Very good, very very good. It's not cheap. I'll say this
Mhm.
first before I go through everyone, but none of this shit's cheap. It's going to be expensive, but if you're trying to pack out,
Oh
um,
yeah.
Paul Jones from our platform put me on to a company called Grind. They make waffles. You know those Stroop waffles. I'm trying to think of the name. Stingers. You see those
Yep.
Stinger waffles? They're loaded with sugar. The Grind ones are made. They're designed by um, I think like long distance runners, and it's a Canadian company. So they taste just like those, but they're really low sugar, if almost no sugar at all. The other thing I'm doing as a treat, you mentioned like the Snickers bars and that stuff. Go to Purdy's Chocolates and look at their no sugar added line. They got milk chocolate bars. They've got dark chocolate. There's a lot of good sugar free chocolates now that you can get. There's
Mhm.
all kinds of ways you can like pull that sugar out. I had the same problem with you as like you're referring. You get the spike and then the bonk, or you feel
Yeah.
weird. Like it's just sugar's just the enemy. I think like it's good, but then it's also poison, right? So,
It's and again, like same thing I did when I stumbled across those salt stick tabs basically, like salt pills, is I started going on the ultra marathoner um forums, and you can actually look into it, and a lot of them rely on like not so much on sugar again for the long sustained hunt or runs, but fat. So fat is very bioavailable. Some simple carbs, things like that are good. But again, the problem is the carbs kind of break down into the sugar, so you still run into that same problem. But the fat can be a really good one. So the protein's great, but you do want to make sure that it's not super lean protein. So it's very
yeah,
different when you're at home. A lot of people want that lean protein. They don't want the extra fat, whatever it may be. When you're in the mountains, like your engine is revved from sun up to sundown,
yeah,
and your body needs to recover. So you need those calories. So finding some of that high fat, high calorie snacks. Again, same reason I don't just rely on my wild game jerky and my wild game um, biltong
yeah,
to get me through it. So finding some of those high fat tricks. But I'm gonna have to check out some of those ones you're mentioning as well, because I'm
yeah.
always looking for new stuff. And I see Clay mentioned that you couldn't carry the same amount of calories as me. So again, I'm 6'8", 270 to 280 pounds, and typically I come out of the bush anywhere from 15 to 23 pounds lighter than I go into the bush. So like I started at 4,500 to 5,000 calories a day, and my backpack was just like it felt like I was packing out when I was packing in. So I started cutting back, and I've just found when I start getting as low as that 3,000 calorie mark, especially for those long, if it's a 4 or 5 day hunt, 6 day hunt, that's fine. But if I'm doing those 10 to 14 day hunts,
Hmm.
I really start struggling towards the end of those trips. And I start questioning how bad I want to get to those ridges. So that's kind of why I've found that kind of 35 to 3,800 calorie mark with a few extra boost days seems to carry me through. But again, everybody's body works differently. So
Yeah. And I think, you know, there's a gem in there that you mentioned right at the end that you touched on a bit earlier, and that's those extra boost ones where you'll have, you know, throw 4 days in your food bags. Like if your food weight was like say 1.5 pounds on average and it's 2,500 calories, throw 4 bags in that are 3,000 or 3,500. You know, because in a pinch you can use them as rations if you have to stay an extra couple days. I mean, you got and throw some extra goodies in there, some treats. Like, there's a lot of ways to mitigate that, right? For sure.
yeah. And I'm always
Uh,
trying to drop weight because going in at, you know, my weight being my body size, your motors burn more gas and you got to bring more gas with you. So if I can drop
Yeah.
weight, I need less food with me going in. It's just my body seems to love this 270 range. So we'll get
Well,
there.
You'll get there for sure. I think I know the answer, but you're running Kifaru pack, right? That's your
Yes,
brand.
sir.
Are you using the new arc frame, or are you sticking with the old one?
No, yeah, I've been running the arc frame. I actually got the arc frame about a year before it launched. I ran the prototype one, and then through some of the feedback, we made some modifications before this most recent one launched. And then I started running the current model of the arc frame. I think it was 3, 4, somewhere between like 5 or 3 months before the actual launch. And I've enjoyed it. Like it's worked really well for me. I've punished that sucker pretty bad. And yeah, that's what I'm running right now.
Okay. Still running the Snowy Mountain 300 PRC this year, or what are you taking on the hills?
I have a new build coming in. It hasn't arrived yet. I'm doing the new, what is it? The XLR Element, like the magnesium chassis. I'm doing a 7 PRC. So I'm going to do a lighter build. It's mostly for my mountain hunts. So I'm getting the folding stock. Because for me, especially when you're getting off the jet boat and you're pushing through some of those lower timber patches, you're out elk hunting and you're pushing through those braided alders. Being my height, the barrel's always snagging on stuff. So I kind of want to test one of those shorter, you know, cool hip, cool kid guns for a bit and see if, you know, when you're pushing up through that thick brush, having that collapsible stock, being able to put that on the pack and be a little more agile at the beginning. I'm excited to test that out. And I've shot 7 PRCs at some of the courses I've done. I'm very impressed with it, and I'm very excited to see how it performs in the field as well.
It's interesting. So I have, it's well known, I'm a gun nut, but I am running my sheep rifle this year. I have the first one off the production line. It's one of Mike Drury's Alpine Riflecraft Zenith from Calgary. I got the first one built, and it's chambered in 284 Winchester. I put together a 20-minute YouTube video. It's on our channel. If you're very interested in that gun, check out the video. First time I've ever done this kind of thing on a video, but guns are my passion. So I'm running that, and my rifle is 5 pounds, 13 ounces with 20-inch carbon barrel, and I'm shooting steel off a Javelin bipod at 650 with it all day long. Like it's a sweet little machine. But I'm also running, I have a Gunworks climber that's been modified in 300 PRC, and I just sent it up. Donnie Lynham's got it. He's taken it up to Mitch Kendall, and we're gonna do a second barrel for it in 7 PRC. So I'm gonna basically swap back and forth from that. So I'm real curious to hear later in the season what your thoughts are on the 7 PRC. It's a great caliber.
I'm expecting big things. I know quite a few people that have used it in the field and had a lot of success, but it's hard to imagine dethroning the 300 PRC with what it's done for me over the last few years and just what I've seen with killing power, stopping power, and you know what? For 212 grains, like the minimal damage that I've seen with regards to meat wastage, like it's a devastating round, puts everything down in its tracks, or 10, 15 yards. The old Rut Daniels didn't go 20, but when I started cutting them open, that's what I was afraid of at the beginning, was that I was going to see a lot of meat wastage, and I haven't had much issues with that, which has been really nice. So,
are you running the ELDX or the LDM, the 212 ELDX? Then,
ELDX.
right? ELDX. Yeah. So are you? what's your shot placement on a big game animal then with that rifle, if you have a choice? Is it shoulder, behind the shoulder? What are you trying to hit?
Behind the shoulder, yeah. I don't aim for
Okay.
bone. I go through, yeah, just kind of tuck it in right behind that shoulder. I'm a big fan of hard shots if you can be really
Hmm.
comfortable in the position, but like high heart, so you have some forgiveness.
Hmm.
And yeah, no, I've had a lot of success with that.
I think that's your secret to no meat damage with that particular bullet. I think that's the
I
answer
mean,
right there.
yeah, if you're punching a shoulder blade, it's and doing some of that, obviously you're gonna have some
Yeah.
pretty messy shots. But like I shot a whitetail quartered two, a bedded whitetail quartered two in Alberta. We had been waiting him out, and I tucked it in, but again, I was able to get it just above his collarbone, and it went in and out, and not too shabby. But it's just, yeah, being confident not to punch some of those heavy mass bones, I guess.
Yeah. Well, those bullets kill, but like I said, there could be a little bit of damage if you hit the shoulder for sure. Let's see here. Oh, here's one I wanted to ask you. We're killing time here really fast, but what does your safety kit look like that you throw in your pack as far as like first aid and bush safety? Maybe you could walk us through that.
Yeah, I used to be very minimalistic with it, and I've slowly grown my kit. I really love the kin tape.
Mhm.
Like, I've tried all the different blister kits, things like that over the years. I get the swimmers kin tape. You can get them in
Okay.
rolls. Now it's made for, so I sweat a lot again, my feet sweat, everything like that. So the swimmers kin tape can, if you roll an ankle, bust a toe up, get a hot spot, you can throw that on and it's gonna, because it's made for swimmers, it's gonna deal with that sweat really
Mhm.
well. I've used it to fix busted trekking poles back in the day. Um, like I had a camera guy, he was hiking down in New Zealand and the whole, I think was it his heel like slipped off of his foot because he didn't tighten his boot up properly before he started hiking down. The heel was just sliding. And we
Oh
took some of
shit.
that kin tape and like basically strapped his heel back in place and he got through the
Oh.
rest of the trip and it never came off. So I run that a lot. I'll bring three of those what kind of, they're not latex gloves, they're like the construction gloves. I bring those in my bag. I bring
Mhm.
three of them because one of them I cut the fingers off for my muzzle brake covers. And
Okay.
then you have the two others if you have to deal with a wolf or a wound, or something like that in the bush, you got those. I always keep an extra headlamp. I got one of those 1 ounce headlamps in there from Petzl,
Yeah,
really
I
small
got
one
those
that
too.
I
Yeah.
charge and then I electric tape it so it can't spin and open up in there. I picked up, is it Rhino Rescue? I picked up
Yep.
some of their light first aid kits. They're kind of butterfly stitches, or they're really aggressive butterfly stitches in there. And I absolutely love super glue. Super
Hmm.
glue is just a godsend in the back country. You open yourself up, and I can't tell you how many times, especially after a kill, when you're chopping stuff up and you get a nice little
Oh yeah.
cut, super glue yourself back shut. But other than that, not a ton in my kit, to be honest.
Go
A
pretty
little bit of
lean.
a leave for the back. But yeah, I don't bring a bunch of stuff other than that. Maybe a tourniquet every now and then.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I mean, that seems to be the one thing I see the most variation in when I ask that question is everybody does something a little bit different. And, it depends on your training and your experience and stuff. And my daughter's a CO and she keeps like every now and then she'll buy me something else to put in my safety pack, right? And it's like, okay, now I look like a paramedic, Steph, but thank you. I don't know. I guess she's worried that I'm just clumsy and going to kill myself. I don't know, but all right. Here's one last question, and then we're going to start to wind her down. In reach or Zolio?
In reach. I've
Hmm.
ran in reach for a long time. Yeah, I've always ran my in reach. I run a Garmin watch as well, so I can pair my watch to my in reach.
Yeah.
So I always strap my in reach to my backpack, like right here, so it's within reach.
Hmm.
But that way, if you drop your backpack, anything like that, and something were to go wrong, I can still trigger my watch. So that's
Yeah.
what I run.
Yeah. I just picked up the new Messenger Plus, the one that's got you can do photos
How is
now,
that?
and I just got it today. I haven't even tried it, so I'm gonna
I
run it this year. I'm gonna try it out. I'm pretty excited about it.
talking about going back to where we were with this ram right here and a lot of stuff we talked about earlier, I really think that that's going to be a phenomenal resource for a lot of sheep hunters that are
Could
getting out
be.
there for the first time. You know, you got all of a sudden you have a phone a friend resource in your pocket. You can shoot a
Yeah.
message back out. If you're not 100% confident in the ram, you know, sending it out and asking for some help and support. I think that's going to be a huge, huge resource for people.
I think so too. And you know, the latest thing too that's popped into our communications world now is iPhones being able to satellite text, right? Have you tried that?
Mhm. I have. I immediately thought that it was going to replace InReach and the Zolios right out of the gates. And then last fall, I tested it in quite a few different areas, and it's great if conditions are good. If you have
Yeah.
good sky exposure. I've been in deep draws, ravines, snow or like cloud cover, but then also tree cover, where my InReach is firing messages out left, right, and center, and my phone
Yeah.
cannot connect. So there's still something left. You know, to be improved on there. I'm sure at some point in time, Elon's going to jump in and they're going to tie it with that, and
Yeah.
everything will be swimming. But for now, I would not. Yeah, if people are wondering if they can skip a Garmin or a Zolio and just rely on your
And
phone, don't. It's
yeah.
you're. I mean, the Garmin's and the Zolios, they're just a few ounces, and that's worth
You're going to have your
every.
phone anyway. And
Yeah,
my opinion is I think this should be the year for all of us to test it. So take your
yeah,
InReach, take
absolutely.
your Zolio, and let's try it because this is our run. And you know what's going to happen. And they've already said, like, they're going to give us, I think it's 2 years free of satellite texting, and then they're going to charge us. So, you know,
Naturally.
take advantage of it now. Let's learn, right?
I see
Oh,
a message.
question. Yeah, go ahead.
I see a few different ones. Pack weight going in. My pack weight going in can vary. Hunts sometimes I can like probably the lightest, to be honest, is probably in the low 70s for an extended trip. But quite often I'll end up carrying some camera batteries or some a few different additional things. And when I'm weighing my bag, I weigh my gun, everything that's going to be in there. But I mean, I've gone in on some trips as heavy as like 90. I think 92 pounds was my heaviest
Yeah.
for this ram right here, and that was not fun getting up that hill. I learned a lot of lessons on that trip, but I realistically for me, I mean, my clothes weigh more, everything I have weighs more because I'm a bigger individual. My food weighs a lot more. But yeah, I'm probably in that somewhere between 70 and 80. Then I see the do I run an attachment on my spotting scope? 100%. I will never not go on a hunt without the I've found personally for me, I run the all-in. I've had a lot of success with it. I've ran a bunch of the different ones over the years. It's got the phone case and it's already got the eye protector that goes on your spotting scope. I film a lot of my kills and shots so I can go back and replay my impact and make sure, you know, I hit where I wanted to hit. I can feel confident. I can understand how much time I have to give an animal after impact. If it goes over ridge or somewhere, you don't see it drop right away, which fortunately, since the 300 PRC happens more often than not.
Yeah, exactly.
But then also the ability, I alluded to it earlier with my second ram. I had 5.6 seconds to confirm that ram was legal before waiting him out for another few hours behind that rock. Otherwise, it would have been like a ridiculous amount of time waiting for him to get up. And 5.6 seconds might be enough time to confirm that he's past the bridge of the nose or think that you counted. But to be 100% confident in aging a ram in 5.6 seconds is aggressive. So,
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
going back, the ability to freeze frame, because they're always moving their heads. You're never perfectly on level with them. So being able to freeze frame those perfect situations where the ram's head's on the right angle, or you can see the light hitting the annuli, identify potential false annuli,
Yeah.
all of those things, I cannot recommend some sort of digiscope adapter enough. But yeah, I run the all-in personally.
Yeah. And the nice thing too, I'll just say this, they've gotten a lot better, the other brands too. There's a lot of up and comers that have come out.
So many good ones.
Yeah, I'm running On Glass. I hooked up with Zach from On Glass like a year and a
Oh,
half
nice.
ago, 2 years ago. I really like their system too, and there's pros and cons to all of them, but it's way better than it used to be. That's what I'll say. They're just definitely getting better.
They were really bad, like when it was just phone
Oh,
scope. And we
you're
all
playing
tried.
this,
We all tried to do it, and you
playing the
spent like 20
fucking
minutes.
game.
By the
Yeah,
time you get it on there, the animal's gone. But
yeah,
the beauty of it, it's like, you know, you get Lamborghini and Ferrari. The more people that are competing in the space, it's only going to get better and better with time, which is awesome.
yeah, exactly. Okay, well, I'm sure we could go for hours. We could dig your pack apart completely, but we should start winding down. Let's tell everybody, where do we find Joe? What's like, first of all, what do you got on the books for hunting this year? I haven't heard.
What do I have on the books for hunting this year? I've got caribou and goat again. I hit the caribou draw, so I'm heading up north. Caribou, goat. I will have other tags in my pocket on that, but that'll be my primary focus. I will have a sheep tag, but that's definitely not on my menu. I want to do a bighorn hunt later in the season, so I'll be doing some of that. I have to film a project with Kafaru. We're doing an elk and mule deer hunt, so they're coming up to film a hunt with me, which will be a fun project. I haven't done something like that before with them. Obviously, come November, I'll be chasing blacktail. I'll be doing a bunch of that. My wife hit a shared moose hunt with some of my buddies as well, so try and get out there and put some time in, see if we can't get her in front of something. But yeah, that's kind of the primary focuses, which is a lot.
That's a lot.
And,
Yeah.
and between that, I'll definitely sneak in a few other hunts as well.
Cool. One of the things we're going to do, Blake has an obsession with blacktail. It's fairly new, and I'm pushing him I'm going to spin the tables around and turn him into a host. And I want everybody here to hear this. You got to push Blake. He needs to run a blacktail camp, and I would like him to get you on and do a night of blacktail talk, if you would. So I'm calling you out here. You got to help.
I'm
this
up
boy.
for it.
All right. We got to find the
I'm
time.
up for it,
that'll be the problem.
but blacktail hunting is just, you got to be a sick and twisted individual to fall in love with blacktail hunting. I'll tell you that right now. I grew up doing it, so it's like this love-hate relationship, but it's yeah, you got to really enjoy it to want to keep doing it. I'll say
there's
that much.
It's surprising
it's
amount of people that do. There's a surprising amount of people on Spike Camp that do. I'm still trying to warm up to it, but Blake's dragging me out now, and I mean, I just love being out there, so I'm starting to do it too. But where do we find you, Joe? Social media and your show and stuff.
Yeah, social media, I guess, the old Instagram, I believe it's Joe _Eppele. So just my first underscore and last. That's where you'll see a lot of just my behind the scenes stuff. You'll see what me and my wife and kids are up to quite a bit as well. Try and keep open, like we talked about earlier, with all of that. Watch my kids get into some trouble. And then on Wild TV, obviously, I have a show on Wild TV, The Edge, so people can tune in there and watch it live on the network, or if they want to download the Wild TV Plus app, they can binge all of my current episodes and all of my previous episodes, going way back to those early hunts with the show that I hate seeing, because nobody likes seeing old content of themselves and when they were doing all the dumb stuff. But it's kind of like the Netflix of hunting content. You can see it all.
Yeah.
If you're crazy enough to want to binge it. But yeah, so it's all on the app there. And then if you got many people from the US, we're also on Pursuit Network and Cowboy Channel in the US as well. So
Awesome.
we got a few places we're available down there.
Oh, right on. Cool. And Blake's posted up your Instagram and stuff. And
sweet.
Yeah, we know where to find you. All right, we got a little bit of housekeeping to do before we wind down. Blake put together a giveaway contest for the Sheep Camp series, and it is a Alpine game bag set and weekender food bag from our good friend Cody over at Stone Point. And Blake drew the winner for me while we were chatting, and it is Chris from Chichaku Outdoors. Chris, I don't know your last name, but I'll run you down. I know you, and I know where to find you. So congratulations on that prize. And we'll get that out to you. We'll probably meet you for coffee, because I know you're a local guy, and we'll figure that out. Sticking to the sheep hunting theme, I just want to let everybody know we have this is the main Sheep Camp series. This is the finale tonight, but I've got 2 more bonus episode live streams coming up later on this month. On July 17th, we have Rob Kopecki from Alberta. He's a Wild Sheep Foundation Alberta board member. and he has his North American Grand Slam, and he's a very, very cool guy. Lots of fun. We're going to bring him on for an episode. And then on July 22nd, we have one of our Spike Camp members, Mr. Dylan Forsyth, is going to come on. He's a little bit humble about his sheep hunting career, but he sent me some photos today, and I fell off my chair about 4 times just looking at the pictures. Dylan is a fantastic guy, avid conservationist and hardcore sheep hunter, and we're going to talk about hunting in sheep in BC, and in particular, here's a teaser, the BC Slam. I won't say any more, but there you go. You got 2 more episodes coming before the opener. And the last thing, Blake just launched it while we are all on the show here, but we are launching a new giveaway contest called the Spike Camp Sheep Stakes. And the details are on the platform on how you can be eligible to win some really cool prizes. One of those options will be spending money at Wild Sheep BC, Wild Sheep Foundation Alberta, and the Wild Sheep chapter in the Yukon. So membership upgrades, buy a new membership. Blake's got all the details there. But the prizes, we got 2. I'm going to lift them up here and show you guys. There's a rifle built. These prizes are donated by my very close friend, Donnie Lynham. He's a big donator for conservation. This rifle is built by Gary Flock, and it's a Kimber Action, and it's chambered in a 6.5 PRC with a benchmark fluted barrel. And there's some really cool features here, guys. Gary modifies these stocks. So you can see it's got a negative comb. It's got a palm swell and thumb shelf that he's added onto the stock. And it's also got an MTN gear rail, which was mounted backwards, but I got corrected and mounted it around the right way. Tally rings, Leopold VX3 scope. So that's the gun. And then we have a very special prize. Oh, it's heavy. This is a special edition Dream Rams book by Bill Pastoric. Bill hand carved a few of these boxes, and Mr. Lynham surprised me last fall with this gift. And he basically said, keep it or give it away on the platform. And I just felt so guilty. I looked at this thing. I've been drooling over it for months, but we're giving it away. So those are the 2 prizes. So all the details are there. We're going to run this contest through the end of August, throughout sheep season. So get out there. There'll be lots of promotions. I'm going to put a video up tomorrow with some more detail on the prizes, but let's get out there and support conservation and do our part for sheep, everybody. So anyway, there you go. So Joe, back to you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming on tonight. I know you've got a busy world over there in Squamish, and I just want to personally thank you for the support and your time tonight.
Honestly, Chuck, I appreciate you having me on here, and always a pleasure chatting with you. So I appreciate you having me on, and it was fun seeing the interactions and getting some good questions out there as well. So thanks everybody who tuned in.
Looks like we got 70 people right now. So they've been coming and going. So we got up there, man. That's a lot of commitment. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and committing the time to us tonight. This was a blast. We got to do it more often, Joe. We have to. So.
You know where to find me.
All right, buddy.
At least this time of the year, not in the fall.
Yeah, I know. This is why I want to do it now before you get busy. So, all right, man. Take care, everybody. Have a good night, all. Thank you very much.